Hey, I'm back, and this one is going to be a slightly different kind of video because I'm going to talk about job interviews today. We would all agree that even the most seasoned ones amongst us get cold feet when it comes to facing interviews. I'll be honest with you, even today, although I train students professionally for interviews, if I have to appear for one, I get really nervous. So it's not easy. Facing an interview is not easy. Cracking one is even more difficult, considering the fact that this pandemic has taken away a lot of jobs, and a large number of us are right now either unemployed or are looking at future unemployment. So this skill has suddenly become a very precious one. I know a large number of you are probably preparing for interviews right now, and all of you are going to benefit immensely from this one. Now, this is a subject which cannot be covered in 10 or 12 minutes on the whole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a part of the video today, and I'm going to deal with just one question. And which is that one question that I have chosen to discuss with you today? The one that they're going to ask you in every single interview. It does not matter which organization you are appearing in the interview for. It doesn't matter which sector you want to be in. If you face an interview anywhere in the world, they're going to ask you this question right at the beginning. And many of you, I believe, have already guessed it. For those who haven't, it's that much dreaded question: tell me something about yourself. So what is it about this question that is so special? Why would you need to prepare separately for this one? As I told you, that this is going to be the first question in any interview that you face, which means that this is going to be your opportunity to impress them. This is going to be a chance for you to tell them that I am such an interesting person that you might want to explore me further. Now, the problem that I commonly face when I conduct mock interview sessions with my students is that the moment I ask them this question, and imagine the scenario where there's a table in between us, and I have the CV of the student on the table, and I ask him or her this question: tell me something about yourself. And then the person begins with the name, which is fine, and then comes the disaster. The grades, the percentages, the names of the schools, the colleges, the universities, endless numbers of seminars and workshops and whatnot, certifications. About 5 or 6 minutes of rambling on and on and on about all these things, and I listen patiently. And what I do when I help them practice answering this question is, after they're done, I pick up the CV from the table and I turn it towards them so that they can see what's written on it. Although they created those CVs, so they actually know what's there, but I still turn those CVs towards them and I ask them this question: do you think I am illiterate? I cannot read what's there on the CV? Or do you think I'm blind? Because you told me in the last 4 or 5 minutes whatever is there on the CV, whatever I already know. So when I have the CV in my hands and I have gone through all the information that's there on it, then why do you think I still asked you this question? Because I wanted to know you. And because it's a mock interview session, they know that after all, I'm their teacher. They often come back to me and say, but sir, you want to know me and this is about me. What do you want to know? I have told you the most important things about myself: the school, the college, the degrees, the grades, the percentages, and whatnot. The seminars and workshops, aren't you impressed? I said, no, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed because this is an HR interview, and I'm not impressed because you did not use your common sense. Ask the same question to yourself. I have your CV, I have gone through all the information, and I'm still asking you to tell me about yourself. This clearly means that I want you to tell me things which are not there on the CV. And then they would ask me that typical question that I've come across so many times from so many students: what else? What do you mean, what else? I tell them. What do you mean exactly by what else? You can't be a person who's defined by some grades and percentages and certificates and seminars and workshops. Do you love to hang out with friends? Yes, sir. Do you watch movies? Yes, sir. What about biking, trekking, or let's say water sports, maybe kickboxing, cooking? Yes, sir. Some of these, yes. Then why didn't you tell me about these things? Sir, it's a job interview. Why should I tell you about how much I love playing football or how much of a trekker I am? You have to. This is an HR interview. You have already come through the technical round, the technical interview. You've proven there that you are a good engineer, or whatever skills you are required to have for this position. You already have those skills. You've passed that round and you've come here. And after that, I'm asking you to tell me about yourself. What do you think I want to know? I want to know you as a person. And please do not be under the impression that the whole world, like your parents or teachers or your friends or your neighbors or your relatives, the whole world, the rest of the world thinks that a person, that is you, is defined by some petty grades and scores and percentages and all these stuff. Please tell me what kind of a person you are. Please tell me what you like, what you dislike, what you enjoy doing. That is when they get it. It's like a revelation for them. I'm supposed to say these things to you. Is it okay if I say these things in a job interview? Absolutely. Now, if you have been paying attention to whatever I have been telling you, then you by now know that it's not going to be easy to answer this question. And I tell my students that they should not prepare for an interview choosing specific questions and preparing answers for those questions, because in an HR interview, you might be asked absolutely anything. They might ask you about your relationship status. They might ask you about your expectation of salary. They might ask you about your relationship with your parents, your childhood. They may ask you about your school life. It could just be anything. So there is no point in actually preparing for an interview in a question specific manner. But when it comes to the preparation for this question, tell me something about yourself, I very strongly suggest that whoever is serious about cracking an interview should write down the answer of this question, because the answer to this question would need a lot of thinking. Usually the first response that we come up with has to do with all the grades and percentages and names of schools, colleges, and the workshops and seminars, etc. I told you, you will not say any of that. You will not include any of that in this answer, which means that when you actually prepare for answering this question in an interview, you would actually have to write down stuff, and then you have to go through it. Writing down itself is going to take a lot of time, because it'll feel like discovering yourself. All the things that you so far thought less important or absolutely unimportant or absolutely irrelevant for a job interview becomes very, very important for answering this question, which means that you'll have to devote a lot of time to write down exactly what defines you as a person beyond the world and scope of academics. And then for this particular question, I would strongly advise you to by heart the answer, and it doesn't stop there. You'll then have to practice saying it in a way in which it doesn't become very obvious that you have by hearted the answer. So step one is sitting down with a pen and paper and asking yourself what exactly defines you as a person, writing down all that is interesting about you, all that all that would help them to know you, understand you better. And then by hearting that answer, and then maybe standing in front of a mirror and repeatedly saying the answer in a way in which it doesn't become obvious that it's a by-hearted answer. Because when you are saying something in a spontaneous or natural manner, there are pauses. You sometimes think for a couple of seconds and then come up with something that makes your answer sound very, very natural. Whereas if you have by-hearted something, there is always that inner tendency to get it out of your brain as quickly as possible, which means that by-hearted answers usually are spoken out at a faster pace, and no eye contact is maintained. It becomes very, very clear that this person is saying something that he or she has prepared and by-hearted. So ensure that you do not make it very obvious that you have taken a lot of preparation for this answer. Make it sound natural. Give it those very important pauses. Think in between sentences for maybe a couple of seconds and come up with a point in a way in which it will appear to be to have come to you at that moment of the interview. So this is what you could do to prepare for an interview. And if you get this answer right, then those people would really want to explore you further, because they are not interested in your grades and scores. They want to know what kind of a person you are. If your answer really makes them happy, makes them interested in you, then they will ask you more questions, and you will get more chance to prove yourself as an amazing, awesome future employee. So go ahead, prepare well for your interviews, and really devote a lot of time for the preparation of this particular preparation of the answer to this particular question. And my best wishes to all of you. And if you have any other questions for which you need my suggestions, you want me to make more videos on other questions that come to your mind, please feel free. I've been doing this for more than a decade. A large number of my students have cracked interviews. They are in very good positions across the globe in amazing organizations. So I have the experience. I know what I'm saying. I know that I will be able to help you. And if you pay attention to what I have said or will say in future videos, you will definitely do well in your interviews as well. All the best. Take care of yourself and go ahead and get the jobs.